Matt Rule's attempt at a Huskers spring games carnival instead of the traditional spring game missed the mark this weekend, and it was not worthy of a Huskers football. And I like the Huskers. I want to hear from Husker Nation here. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked on Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked on Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below while you're watching so you don't miss a single episode. This episode is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. So I want to talk about what we did this weekend at Nebraska instead of a spring game. I want to compare it to what we did this weekend at Penn State, by the way. They had their spring game. We haven't talked about that yet. We talked about Oregon yesterday, and we'll have a Tuesday tweets coming up, always one of our best segments of the week. But Nebraska football, they went from being one of the crown jewels on how to handle a traditional spring game to putting on a bit of a clown show circus atmosphere event this past weekend that probably wasn't worthy of anybody's time out there in Lincoln. And I say this with all due respect for Matt Rule, who I like, and for Nebraska football, which I like to watch and I like to talk about here on this podcast. I think they're one of the more interesting programs in the country, let alone the Big Ten. But what happened Saturday at Memorial Stadium, it was an event that, I don't know, if you were an FCS team trying to draw 1,000 fans for like team picture and autograph day, that's what this would be. This is not for Nebraska football. It was not an event that you hastily put together for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And I'll have some details in just a moment, but a quick recap on the whole situation. Last year, the Huskers held a traditional spring game. 60,000 fans showed up. It was the fourth highest attended spring game of the country. It was great. And Nebraska does well with that every single year. And it was highly rated on the Big Ten Network. They aired the game live to tons of people, myself included. We all tuned in to see freshman phenom quarterback Dylan Raiola. That was his first exhibition as a Husker. We wanted to put an eyeball test on it, and he did not disappoint. In fact, he immediately passed the eyeball test, and we said, wow, okay, this guy's going to start on day one. And the whole nationally televised audience thought the same thing. They quickly could see who the Huskers were going to be set with at QB1. It was great. Now, the downside of that game last year, and this is where I am sympathetic in my understanding toward Matt Rule's situation when he canceled the traditional spring game. He lost 2 kids that day to season-ending injuries. He also had 6 more kids that entered his office on that Monday and announced that they were leaving in the spring transfer portal. I get it. I get his frustration. It's the new wild, wild west of college football. So Rule, he immediately decided that those 6 kids that were leaving through the transfer portal, that must have been from other schools scouting his players and poaching his players because they watched them live on TV that weekend. Remember the Connor Stellians rule. You can't go on site and scout a team, but you sure as heck can watch them on TV. And there they were playing the spring game. And then he saw a half a dozen kids come in his office after the spring game, says, hell, this school called me. I'm going there for money. Fast forward to this winter. And by the way, can I back up for just a second? Here's where I disagree with Matt Rule. Those kids weren't scouted in the spring game and then offered deals that day and then left like the next day. Those kids were already gone. They had already been poached and talked to weeks and days before that the Big Ten aired that game. That's what I think. So, look, injury concerns, I get it. Everybody's got them. Putting your wares out on national TV so people could spy on you and then go grab your players. I don't know if it happened that quickly. However, I'll point out, Michigan didn't allow its game to be aired live this year for that same reason because they played their game a week earlier and the transfer portal was still going on. So anyway, I get the concern. I'm trying to be very sympathetic here. So let's fast forward now to this past winter. Matt Rule announced that due to injuries in the live spring transfer portal during spring football, he said Nebraska would not be conducting a traditional spring game, much to the disappointment of many, myself included. A few other schools followed suit at about the same time, and I was going to hold my breath going, ooh, is this going to be a thing? Is everybody going to cancel spring football? So as quickly as it started, it ended. There were only a handful of schools that ultimately decided to cancel their spring game. Schools that, had them before, decided not to. Ohio State, they were mulling it. Had they just played, such a long schedule. In the end of the day, they ended up having their spring game. So, and again, as I mentioned, Michigan had theirs, but they delayed it by a week on the Big Ten Network until after the spring transfer portal was closed. So, by the way, I think that's the approach Matt Rule should take in 2026. Go back to having the spring game. Either move your spring week a week later so that it closes with your spring game on the same day that the spring portal closes. Who knows? Maybe we'll get rid of the spring transfer portal by then and just have the postseason one. But I think have the game, and if you're early, then say the Big Ten Network can't air it for another week. Do what Michigan did, but go back to having a spring game at Nebraska. That I wholeheartedly believe that. I'd love to hear from Husker fans on that whole thing. So, and whatever you do, don't repeat this fan fest thing, this Husker spring games that we just did. Restore the traditional spring game. This carnival, it was kind of like a punt, pass, and kick contest with a circus festival atmosphere around. It wasn't worthy of Husker football. But they did feel obligated to have some sort of event for the fans here in the spring. So, I mean, at least they tried something, but this is not it. This is not it. So this Nebraska spring, these Huskers spring games, they had a fastest man contest. They had a bench press contest, which was kind of hard to get a vibe from the stands, who was doing what and when. There was kicking and punting. There was women's flag football. Huskers quarterback Dylan Raiola, by the way, stepped in for 3 snaps there. I suppose that was cool. He later threw a football 45 yards into a basketball hoop at the goal line. We're just kind of making up silly nonsense at this point. At one time, former quarterback and current tight end Heinrich Harburg, he was out there riding on a motorized horse and roped a small motorized calf. I mean, is this really what we want to be doing with our Nebraska football program? It's not a rodeo. They did simulate 3/4 of football with non-starters. But the bottom line, did the fans buy it? Well, I just told you 60,000 fans showed up last year to a spring game. 7,000 showed up this year. So that's a big difference. Was it worth it for those 7,000 fans that showed up? I don't know. You have to ask them. I'm asking you, if you're one of them and you watched it, let me know in the comment section. Is it worth the university's premium for event liability insurance to hold this event for a day? I don't know. Certainly, we'd be cringing today if Dylan Raiola had hurt himself in a real spring game, exhibition game like we want. But what would we be saying today if he threw his shoulder out, throwing a football into a hoop 45 yards out? I mean, you can get injured on anything. What will we be saying if Heinrich Harburg had hurt himself falling off a motorized horse as opposed to getting hurt in a spring game? I think it's something that Nebraska needs to consider, and they need to go back to the spring football game. Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, others, they all got some serious scrimmage work done here in the past couple of weeks. In my opinion, they're now a step closer to being ready for the regular season when it starts on August 7th than the Huskers are. That's what I think. What do you think? We'd love your comments on all of that. Be sure to hit that subscribe button as well, too, so you never miss a single episode every day. And you early morning commuters, going to give you a heads up. If you listen, if you want, we have the audio only versions of these podcasts on things like Spotify and Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. They're out 2 hours earlier in the morning. I think we release it like at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. Video comes out a couple hours later. Anyway, check it out. Have you subscribe no matter how you check out this podcast. Don't forget our website, talkbig10.com, where we have all of our podcasts go chronologically, and we'll group them by school. This one will go under Nebraska. There are links at the bottom of the page where you can buy Big Ten merchandise in time for the 2025 season. Get some Nebraska Cornhusker hats, shirts, T-shirts, all that, pennants. It's all right there. You can check that out, again, at talkbig10.com. So speaking of spring games, we need to talk about Penn State's blue-white game this weekend. It was a much different approach than what Nebraska did. James Franklin means business. Got a lot on the line. Plus, we'll have our Tuesday tweets coming up in a few minutes as well. It's all right here on Locked On Big Ten. You know, there's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game in person. I mean, you get a little bit of a vibe on TV, but in person, it's just crazy. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. And it's electric inside the arena. And with Game Time, you can be a part of it and eliminate the stress of buying last-minute tickets. If you want to go to the event, Game Time is the app you need. It makes it easy, fast. You get the playoff tickets, even when demand is high for these sold-out events. Prices on the app, Game Time, they actually go down as tip-off gets closer. And their last-minute deals could save you up to 60%. So last-minute deals, save up to 60%, buying last minute for sports and concerts, comedy, theater, all that stuff. All-in pricing means no surprises at checkout. So what you see is what you pay. Simple. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and the redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This program is brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver all the things that we need. From everything, aerospace, electrical, medical devices, they've got it all. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts and help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global vision, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward and think ahead and lead the way. Because the clock, as it ticks on down, you need to make the most of every hard-working minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That's www.easierwithepicor.com. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. Don't forget our website, talkbig10.com as well. All right, so let's talk about the Penn State blue-white game. We just talked about Nebraska, how they handle things. More of a traditional situation at Penn State this weekend. And afterward, James Franklin had a direct message to his players. He said, look, we got a lot of work to do this summer. Be very intentional with our work, every player, every day. All right? Some teams reload. Oregon, for example, 10 players in the draft. They got to bring in some new talent. Look, Penn State's the same way. They'll also have Dual Carter and Ty Warren. Their losses will be felt. But I've noticed with James Franklin and Penn State, he's been there, a dozen years now, and he's at the point where you lose a defensive end to the NFL, you bring in a next guy that's got a good chance to make the NFL. They just reload talent there. And except for a wide receiver, can't get that figured out. Although this year, maybe. But James Franklin's got this program rolling. And so it's next man up mentality and more NFL type talent. Now, quarterback Drew Aller is going to be a key here. Played most of the scrimmage, by the way. He did have a miss. Got picked off by a freshman, too. Redshirt freshman safety, Vabo Toure, intercepted him. Keep in mind, no Bro Perbula as a steady backup anymore this year. So the battle here is for QB2, Jackson Smolik and Ethan Grunkemeyer, who I believe, memory serves me right, when he the backup when Bro Perbula left during the playoffs for the rest of the season. Running backs Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. They ran some two-back sets together. Third running back, Quentin Martin Jr. Franklin says he's going to use 3 running backs this year. I mean, they've had the luxury of Allen and Singleton, 1-2 punch. Going to get Quentin Martin in the mix as well. Some new wide receivers, Devontae Ross, Kyron Hudson, looks promising. They got playing time. They made some good plays. They're still learning Drew Aller and timing and all that stuff. But hopefully that'll be an upgrade there. Also, receiver Liam Clifford. He ran a couple of jet sweeps on direct snaps. So, offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki, maybe he's got a new weapon, a secret weapon to replace Tyler Warren, the tight end who left, who ran all those trick plays last year. On defense, a lot of players did not play. But a lot of eyes were on freshman linebacker LeVar Arrington II. You older fans remember LeVar Arrington. LeVar Arrington II coming in as an 18-year-old man-child. It's like 6'3", 220, strapping. He's very easy to look at. You spot him. He's just built different than the other guys. He's got a shot to work himself into the rotation here his rookie year here. And don't forget, the Nittany Lions got a new defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles from Ohio State, calling that side of the ball this year. Some notable players did not play. Lineman Danny Dennis Sutton did not play. Zane Durant, Alonzo Ford Jr., linebackers Tony Rojas, Dakari Nelson did not play. Corners A.J. Harris, Zion Tracy, safety King Mack, offensive lineman Anthony Donkow and Nolan Rucci, tight ends Luke Reynolds and Andrew Replaya, all did not play. Some were healing, some had off-season surgery, some just a precautionary situation. So, again, James Franklin is managing this situation, wanted to get through it without injuries. The Nittany Lions are healthy. Big expectations for 2025. They're ready to go into the summer. August 30th, opener versus Nevada. Can't wait. I do have some transfer portal news here. We always do every day right here on Locked On Big Ten. Let's start with quarterback Brandon Sullivan. Familiar name because he's played with numerous Big Ten teams, Northwestern and Iowa. But it started some games for each of them the last 3 years. Started 3 games for Iowa this year. Took over for Cade McNamara. Now headed to Tulane. Tulane was reportedly in the Nico Iamaleava sweepstakes, as you remember, for about a minute. They need a quarterback because they didn't get him. And Brandon Sullivan is going to be the guy. It looks like at Tulane, open of the season August 30th. And by the way, they host Northwestern, one of Sullivan's former teams. That'll be an interesting matchup. Now, on to basketball news. Buzz Williams is the new basketball coach at Maryland, obviously. Been that for a couple of weeks. Got a peek at his contract here. You interested? He's going to be one of the highest paid coaches in the Big Ten. You wonder, why would he go from A&M to Maryland? And Maryland's been struggling. Well, I'm struggling. They got to the Sweet 16, but according to Kevin Willier, their former coach, things aren't great behind the scenes there. He's going to get an annual income of about $4.8 million. Got a 6-year deal for almost $34 million. He'll be one of the highest paid coaches in the Big Ten right away. By the way, for reference, Tom Izzo is the highest paid coach of the Big Ten at $6.2 million a year. By reference, Brad Underwood at Illinois, he's the 4th highest paid coach. He also made 4.8, kind of where Buzz Williams is floating in. So that's where he's at, upper echelon of the Big Ten. Hey, if you can get it, great. Remember, Kevin Willier left right after the Sweet 16. Unhappy with Maryland's program from top to bottom, including a poor nil collective. So he took the Villanova job. And so now Buzz Williams, they paid him a lot. Now they got to fix the other stuff and get things going. By the way, may have some good news for Maryland basketball right out of the get-go. 5-star shooting guard Dan Darius decommitted recently from Dan Hurley and UConn. He immediately visited Georgetown. That was his first visit. But his next visit was today in Maryland. Maybe he's going to Maryland. So before committing and decommitting with UConn, there had been some mutual interest with Michigan State and Tennessee. He's from the state of Indiana. I'm not sure why the Hoosiers aren't knocking on his door right now. Nevertheless, that's what's going on with hoops too. All right. Tuesday tweets are coming up. You know, we always have a feature at the end of our program. Monday is our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. Tuesday, we do Tuesday tweets. You put something out there on Twitter or X. I like it. It's going on this part of the program coming up next. Tomorrow, we'll power rank something. Always power rankings on Wednesday. Thursdays, we look ahead to the weekend on the Big Ten Network and highlight Big Ten classics and live action. And we always make picks to games or look at odds, Vegas odds, all that on Friday. That's what we always do. So, Tuesday tweets coming up next, right here in 1 minute on Locked On Big Ten. So the NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you get $250 of bonus bets if your bet wins. So that's fantastic. And we all love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether you're picking your favorite team or diving into some player props, add some stats, figure it out, 3-pointers, steals, assists to this player over more than, it's great. It's great. And you can parlay them all together, increase your winnings. So FanDuel has a lot of ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, you miss tip-off. After the game tips off, you want to jump in with some combined live game props. Go ahead and parlay all that together for your chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Again, that's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com. All right, it's time now for Tuesday tweets. We're going to put it on the screen. If you're audio only, no problem. We'll describe what is going on here, and we'll take a look. This one starts out with this is from NBC Sports, and it's just a graphic of who was drafted in the draft. It leads with Ohio State with the most players drafted by school. 14 players drafted. They put a few more free agents in too. Georgia next at 13, Texas 12, Oregon, Big Ten school record with 10 selections in the draft, and Ole Miss coming in at number 8. All right, let's see what else we got here. Here's just more of the same. It's a picture of some Ohio State players, schools with the most players drafted. And it continues the list. We left off at Ole Miss 8. Alabama had 7. Florida, LSU, and Miami had 7. Michigan had 7. Maryland with 6. How about that? Notre Dame was 6. Maryland, the same as Notre Dame. This is from at Seth Angle. It is a picture underneath the stadium at Beaver Stadium. It's Tyler Warren wearing the old letter jacket, it looks like. Just 2 days after he was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, it's back to Beaver Stadium for the Penn State spring game. Good play. Colts are going to be thrilled they got him. Absolutely. This is a video poolside at Ohio State football, and this is Will Howard. He's got a Steelers hat on. Newest Steeler checking in on Buckeye Nation at W. Howard. He was very proud. Did you see the video of him on draft night? The tears were flowing, the tears of joy when his name was called. That was cool. This is at Blue by 90. Is a picture of Bryce Underwood wearing a Detroit Tigers shirt at jersey at Comerica Park. He threw out the first pitch of the Tigers game the other day. Very good. I haven't seen the end of this. Would he fire a strike? Anybody from Michigan? No? Sure he did. This is at Indiana football. From Cream and Crimson to Cali. Yeah, Kevin Rourke, quarterback of the Hoosiers. Got picked up in the 7th round, pick 227 by the San Francisco 49ers, which is higher than Brock Purdy got drafted. Maybe go fight for that job. Here is from at Blue by 90, the leaders and the best, and it's a picture of Harbaugh raising the trophy, the championship trophy. It says big number 20. 20 players from the 2023 national championship team have been drafted. Remember, a lot of players from the championship team got drafted by the NFL, but a handful, including the 2 defensive tackles, Grant and Graham. They came back for another year, but they just got drafted. Both went pretty early, first round. Here's from at Michigan on Big Ten Network. It is 3 box scores of 3 different days over a baseball diamond. How you feeling at Michigan baseball? They just swept the Spartans. There's the scores: 8-2, 9-2, 6-5. Here's from at Rivals. It says committed, and it is a picture of Brady Smigel. He's a player we talked about in yesterday's podcast. If you want to go back and listen to it, I locked on Big Ten. He's a 5-star. Michigan just landed him. Got a commitment from him. Yeah, I like this one. This is a picture of Ryan Day smiling. This is from at Silver Bulletin. Said Ohio State lost 0 scholarship players to the spring transfer portal. So this portal just closed. No Buckeyes departed. And this was a great quote from Ryan Day. This is Ryan Day's reaction. He said, quote, "That first beer went down cold after the transfer portal closed. I can tell you that," unquote. These coaches, they don't sleep. They worry about who's on the roster the next day. This is from at RMG Buckeye for life. Another picture of Ryan Day in the practice facility. It said the Ohio State Buckeyes put 17 players on NFL rosters this week. Yeah, 14 drafted, 3 more on free agent this weekend. And they'll still be the best team in the country in 2025 and boast the top 2 players in the nation. Sleep well, Buckeye Nation. There you go. This is weird. This is from at Barstool Penn State. It is a picture of the crowd on the spring game at Beaver Stadium on a beautiful, partly sunny day. What's missing? Beaver Stadium with a different look for the blue and white game. Yeah, that's the whole press box has been torn down as they're remodeling it. So you see the double deck, triple deck all the way around, and then it just stops on the far sideline where they're starting to construct a brand new press box, and then the stands and boxes and suites and all that going there. And this is from one of our most loyal listeners. You talk about everydayers. Carla Jenkins. She's a Buckeye fan, and she likes to retweet a lot of our stuff, which we always appreciate. She's always in the comment section, which we always appreciate. She's been with us since day one. At Talk Big Ten says, "Hey, Nico landed on his feet. He's back in L.A., moved up from the SEC to the Big Ten, the richest conference. We'll see him in action at the May 3rd UCLA spring game." She retweeted our podcast in which we said how the EML Lieva family used Colin Cowherd to break that his news was imminent at UCLA, and yet there were still negotiations going on. It didn't take place for another 5 days. Although, Cowherd got it right. He went there. So there we have it. I think that's the last one. So that's it. Tuesday tweets. What'd you think? Let me know. Again, hit me up on Twitter. I'll be glad to put anything out there. And Carla, thank you for closing it out for us there today. All right, that'll do it. We got a lot of spring football still keep an eye on, transfer portals, all that stuff. We'll have power rankings tomorrow, all that coming up here on Locked On Big Ten. In the meantime, there's many ways for you to interact with me on Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten. Our website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts go. Plus, you could buy merchandise for the 2025 football season for your favorite Big Ten teams. Be sure to subscribe for free so you never miss a single episode. And don't forget, you early morning commuters, we got the audio-only podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Come out 2 hours earlier ahead of the video each and every morning. So you've got a little voice in the car all alone on the way to work. We're there for you. Always ask you to check out a previous podcast for a second listen and check it out every day. Also, our friends at Locked On NFL Draft are moving forward from the draft. Now they're analyzing everything and where all the players ended up, especially Big Ten players, where they're at with their respective NFL teams. Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez with that on Locked On NFL Draft. They continue there. You can check them out wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for checking us out as well. Can't wait till we meet again tomorrow. Tell your friends about us. We're here every day, all Big Ten, every day, all 18 teams, news, opinion, analysis, all of it. That's what makes us unique, all in one place. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. Talk to you tomorrow.